Well, views of on the $100,000 that has been donated by Sierra Leone to the devastated earthquake victims of Port-au-Prince in Haiti. We are now joined by Ayo Johnson, a specialist in African issue based in London. Welcome to Tea Break.
Thanks for having me.
As you know, several African nations have come out with offers of help to Haiti, including from post-conflict countries such as Liberia and my country, Sierra Leone, still facing huge challenges. Your reaction to this display of generosity?
Well, it's a fantastic display of generosity. $100,000 or pound sterling is a lot of money in any language, but it's dwarfed significantly by the huge sums of millions which are being pledged by the United States and the United Kingdom. But we've got to be mindful that Sierra Leone is clearly an exceptionally poor country, and to be giving that sort of gesture under the terms currently that Sierra Leone faces and the challenges that it faces, I think it's quite a significant amount of money and should be respected as such, and it's quite good that the President can do so.
Public reaction here is mixed. One can argue that this is truly inspiring. Countries whose majorities live on less than a couple of dollars a day, giving aid to those less fortunate. Others might say, how can one give so much money away when your own people are starving?
Absolutely. I mean, the challenges that Sierra Leone faces, especially with that need for healthcare, access to education, and a whole lot to do with infrastructure, is a major concern. And that money could well be spent in those areas. But I think the President, Ernest Bai Koroma, is trying to create a balance between the very immediate need that the Haitians need and the understanding that if Sierra Leone finds itself in difficulty in the future, he will be hoping that other countries around the world will rally to Sierra Leone's cause. So clearly, he's trying to find a balance between giving as much as he possibly can, at the same time not neglecting the needs of the Sierra Leone people. And I think it's a very tight line and a very serious balance that he's got to carry out.
What's your take on the way the world has reacted to the African response? After all, this is a continent often described as a basket case, poverty, conflict, and always cup in hand. Yet Africa is showing solidarity, but few seem to be noticing.
Well, yes, a lot of African countries have made different contributions. We've got the top end with South Africa giving over $135,000. We have on the lower end with Liberia next door to Sierra Leone giving only $50,000. But again, the most notable of all these donations have been the Senegalese president, President Ouad, who has given at least £1 million in aid, combined with the availability of land and housing to the Haitian people to come back home, if one were to say so. And it's in keeping with what Muammar Gaddafi, head of the African Union, has been calling for some time, for a United States of Africa, which would comprise of not just the Africans themselves on the African continent, but also members of the Caribbean. So he is someone who's opportunistically has capitalized on the need for Haitians to come back home. But it's a tall order because he himself his country is exceptionally poor, and the issues with infrastructure and the logistical nightmares as to how he could accommodate the influx of large numbers of people. But in saying the African continent has rallied, some countries have made significant donations, and Sierra Leone is clearly one of them.
Now, Ayo, Abdoulaye Wade's gesture, could this not open a Pandora's box, given the land issues we have on this continent?
Absolutely. It begs belief that he could even dare to offer that. Who has he consulted with? I mean, you can't make these decisions unilaterally. You've got to consult with local leaders, you've got to consult with the chiefs, traditional leaders, and to be offering a whole region. I think it's very opportunistic. I don't think it will open a Pandora's box. I don't think there will be an exodus of people offering such. But nonetheless, it's a good gesture. It's in keeping with his nature. He's clearly a president who has been quite keen to send his troops to places like the Sudan, Chad, and Guinea, and even neighboring Liberia to address conflict in the past. So he's clearly a generous individual. But I think his claims are very opportunistic in terms of, I'm not sure he's thought about it quite well.
And this $100,000 from Sierra Leone, in just a few sentences, how do you think it will help in rebranding Sierra Leone and making it appear as though it is no longer the country that it used to be perceived as?
Well, everyone is rebranding currently. We've got Nigeria doing so, and if Sierra Leone is trying to put their best foot forward, there's nothing wrong with that. Recently, Sierra Leone came to the UK in terms of a conference trying to put the best efforts in terms of what Sierra Leone can offer to the world. This is an additional effort in that direction by the President, clearly, to show that Sierra Leone is moving away from conflict, moving away from war, and is clearly in a peaceful situation to give others charitably. It would appear so.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir.